Task Force. It is Wednesday, December 29th, January, sorry. I would like everyone to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. To establish a quorum, I'll call the roll. Vice Chair Jennifer Rusk.
Here.
Bill Altoff.
Here.
Rob Howell.
Here.
Ed Root is not here on an absence. Sharon Hagstrom.
Here.
Leo Sand.
Here.
And Dave Nussbaum is chairman. We have a quorum. This is a meeting, so with that being done, I will accept a motion to approve the agenda for today's meeting.
So moved.
Second? Second. Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion before I call the question?
Mr. Chair, if I may, after this, if we can excuse Mr. Rudy to give us notice, and there are some rules with committees to make an excused versus an unexcused absence. So if we can do that after this motion, then please.
Okay, so noted. Thank you. Okay, any further discussion? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approving the agenda say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Okay, next on the agenda. Approving the previous meeting minutes. And does anyone, I'll accept a motion to approve the minutes. Okay, is there a second?
I will second.
Motion made by Altoff, seconded by Rob Howell. Is there any discussion or changes? Okay, with not, I'll call the question to approve the previous meeting minutes. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is public comment, and we have a plethora of people here today. So, we don't have a sign-up sheet, so if anyone would like to come up and give a comment, please raise your hand, come up, identify yourself, and you have 3 minutes.
Hi, good morning, thank you. I'm Craig Luce from Crescente Condominium at 7,000 block of Estero. Chad was nice enough, we had a little informal meeting at our condo with the fellow condo owners from EBT, who Sam was here tonight, Leonardo, basically from Leonardo to Holiday Inn. We have 8 or 10 condos there, Island Reef, Terramar, Crescente, EBT, Bermuda Dunes. And so Chad was there, we were leaning on him to help us organize a uniform front for erosion control on our inner pathways. So we want to work with him to keep in touch with you guys and with Chad. John's been good as well as keep us aware of meeting dates and everything. So looking forward to having a unified front and a unified defense with erosion control. Hopefully with Chad's help on what type of plants and everything put in there. So I want to just give a name to the face, and we appreciate you guys being here, and look forward to working with Chad as well as Bill Perry on protecting our homes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Yes, sir.
Good morning. I'm Sam Lamorato from Estero Beach and Tennis Club. I am the just recently past president of Estero Beach and Tennis Club. The new president's taken over after 6 years. I chose no longer to run. I had my 6 years of fun in the house, and it's someone else's turn. I just want to pass on that I've known Chad for several years, and it's a great working relationship. I would say 99.9% of the time. We come to, we had some differences in the past, but he's always been very fair work with us and the association. So, Chad, keep up the great work. It's been great working with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How much does that cost you?
Yeah, Chad.
Anyone else? Okay. Going once, going twice. Okay, seeing no other people wishing to give public comment, I will close public comment and we will move on to the current items. Very first item on the list is the FGCU USDAC grant project. And Chad, can you give us kind of an update on where we are on that?
Sure, I can, it'd probably be best just to read out, Dr. Daly's email. That is the latest information I do have. I'm not sure if we're waiting for him to still come back from Jamaica or not, but, Chairman Nussbaum asked me to reach out to, Dr. Daly and get a update on, which resiliency experimental simulations that they have gone with for their model. So in response, Happy New Year. Apologies for the late reply. Tied up with some travel issues in Jamaica. Regarding the Fort Myers Beach simulations, they are currently up and running, and he's completed the Hurricane Ian test case and currently comparing the model results to post-storm data for validation. I am also doing validation for other locations such as Sanibel and Lover's Key, which I am aiming to complete by the end of the month, being January. At this point, I will share some updates with you. Once the validation exercise is complete, then I will start the resiliency experimental simulations. I will aim to have those sets of results ready by the end of February, which can then be presented around March. So I didn't quite answer the question as to what the experimental simulations are, but that is the timeline and what's been accomplished to date.
Okay, thank you. For those that aren't familiar, Dr. Daly came in with, I forget the other professor's name,
Savarese, Dr. Savarese.
Dr. Severies, and they presented to the MERTF committee some very interesting information as far as their evaluation of the Ian storm surge and the effects of the surge not only coming in, but also more importantly going out. And they said that we could enlist their effort at no cost to the town to look at simulations to see what would occur if we had done this or if we had done that. They could literally build a computer-generated simulation and then see what effects we could put in or recommend to the council, and then we could come back and take a look, make our recommendations based on what they presented to the committee. So I think it's a very key point as far as providing protection for the island. Doesn't cost us anything. These people are trained. They're not coastal engineers, but they are well-versed in their field of expertise. And I believe that it would help us as a committee and also Chad to look at a lot of different variables so that we can make the right decision on our recommendation to the town. And that's the whole purpose behind it.
Well said.
So, any other questions from the committee on that? I would ask that we try and target them for a March meeting date. If, Chad, if you could try and get that set up for our March meeting, and if not, for sure, April.
And when we do get that info back from the different simulations, I'd love to hear about the other beaches in the area, what their data came back as well, if that's just out of curiosity. I don't know if it's gonna be on one report or if we have to request all of them or not, but.
I'm sure they will share the information, if not the report.
Yeah, I was hoping, that was just, I don't know if
Is
they
it
would be specific.
Sanibel
here.
and Benita?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
I don't know if they were going as far down as Marco or not, but we can ask.
Okay.
Okay? Any other questions on that? Thank you very much, Chad.
Yes, sir, you're welcome.
Okay. Item B on the agenda under current items is the block beach management for 6,000, 7,000, and 8,000. And again, just to give some background, we had a kind of an informal FWC meeting. Chad was in attendance for the primarily south end of the island, where we were talking about shorebird nesting, what the stakeholders and property owners could do, working with FWC to promote and assist in the shorebird nesting, and at the same time, try and protect some of the property owners' access to the beaches, and what they could do to control the primarily sand spurs that are prevalent down there. And there was a lot of discussion regarding takes, a take permit, which is kind of a get out of jail free card for a property owner if they are caught inadvertently harassing a bird or a nest. And FWC came through and said, because of the cooperation that they, and you can jump in anytime you want on this, Chad, but they pretty much said, due to the success we had last year and the cooperation from the owners on the south end, that they wanted to continue the process of working with the owners, staking out, trying to have access points for the owners, and primarily, if you felt the need for a take permit, you could get one, but they did not want to issue a block take permit for the entire 6,000, 7,000, or 8,000 block, because they said they weren't ready for it and they didn't do it. But basically, as I took away from the meeting, is that it worked very well last year, and we don't want to do anything to rock the boat. Chad, if you want to paraphrase anything of the big issue that came out of that, and I think something that we have to address as a committee going to the town, is that there was a very positive effort from the owners on the 7,000 and 8,000 block, at least from what I could gather in the meeting, that we need to take a very proactive stance against sand spurs due to the lethal nature that they have against the chicks, because the spurs get in, create a infection, and kill the birds themselves, and that they felt that the approved herbicide going on there was probably the best method to control the sand spurs and promote the health of the fledgling chicks. And so I know we've got some, I believe, Chad, we have some issues with the town as far as applicating. Do we have to get do the beach tenders have to get a special variance for that, or how does that work?
We're talking about the application of herbicide.
Yes.
So we have a no modification required to our triple CL permit for the application of herbicide. It's my understanding that FWC is going to be doing that. So that has been approved or authorized by the state for them to do that. It will only be in the posted area. So that's where we're at on the herbicide.
Okay. I believe it would at least warrant that we advise the council at the next meeting that this is taking place, and they have to give a report after the meeting, so I'd be more than happy to do it unless you wanna do it in your staff report.
I mean, that's definitely your purview as chairman to give updates,
Okay.
for the committee to
Well.
town council at the beginning of the meetings.
Given I was at the meeting, I can do that, and I can put the target on my back.
No worries.
I think as a courtesy, they usually just come to the council anyway, and I think it has been Murph in the past that
Okay.
has brought it forward.
Okay, thank you, Counselor.
Yeah, so, that meeting, I think there's a lot of work still to be done. I agree. The good news is the FWC seems like they want to partner up with the community and manage this beach. The concerns of, the 8,000 block, 7,000 block, and 6,000 block, I think are a little bit different, but there are some similarities. 8,000 block, one of the sticking points is, a clear access to the beach and being able to maintain that access. And I know there's been, in years past where that access has been either narrowed, shifted, or blocked off. That's kind of where the rumblings start. We have Ms. Sharon here can probably, and Mr. John can speak to, those 8,000 block concerns, but maintaining that access, and what I heard from FWC is, as long as we're following the permit conditions, that constitutes avoidance and minimization to meet the guidelines. So it seems like it's status quo. My only worry is that there has been issues with status quo in the past. So I am optimistic. Brianna seems like a gem, and I think she's was a great partner to work with last season and will continue to be so. So I think, again, the beachfront property owners need to, I think, put pencil to paper and work out how y'all want your beach to be managed, and have a starting point to work with FWC to be, how it can be managed so that we can meet the requirements of the shorebird guidelines and meet your expectations on how you want your beach to be managed.
Okay. Does anyone have any other comments on this?
Is there any way to, when birds make a little nest in the pathway, no matter where it is, as you know, then they have to take it. They take that, and a large amount of it. And there's no way we can just use a shovel and move the new nest over. I know that.
Right. So that was, that was the, so I made it clear to FWC, one of the, that access and that path being clear and it being able to be raked is a kind of a sticking point, it is a sticking point for the beachfront property owners.
Uh-huh.
So that's where, if you are going to do, they call it non-injurious deterrence for birds not to nest, in that path, that's where you need a take permit. And that's, I've just applied for a take permit for our beach project. It would, it's quite the application process, and it's something that, you'll need to consider, but, the point from FWC's standpoint is that where we're asking for that path between Castle Beach and Carlos Point is ideal for the property owners, and it also seems to be ideal for the birds. So that's the issue. Can non-injurious deterrence be established in that path? Get an incidental take permit to do that. Will that fly with FWC? Will the birds still have a successful, nesting season with that happening, are all the questions that need to be answered.
Yes.
I apologize for my ignorance on this part of it. How wide and how long is this specific path that they're on?
I think the minimum is around 10 feet just for the tractor to get through and rake it. I think in the past, it's been on the order of like 20,
Yeah.
30 feet.
Originally,
Why?
it was way bigger.
I'm just wondering, like, I know I'm wondering about, like, during certain times of the season for the birds picking out their nests, putting, like, not, like you said, non-harmful things, but like Moby mat type of thing in a specific area that they wouldn't want to be on that, they wouldn't want to nest on that. What would the process be of that? And then we wouldn't have to rake it, we wouldn't have to worry about birds nesting on it,
Right.
and it would
Sea
have that.
turtles, the sea turtle people would have an issue with Moby mat going out that far onto the
Okay,
beach.
so it goes that far into the, because I'm ignorant to that specific how it is, but
Right.
just like the area where that goes past the dune area, that it would still be an issue.
Yeah, I mean, that beach is, hundreds, if not close to 1,000 feet wide.
I'm just thinking for like the most narrow point where if there is a nest laid, that if they, like they say, you put the
Yeah.
perimeter around it, but.
I don't see that being
Wouldn't be.
allowed by
Okay.
FWC.
Okay.
Okay.
I figured that's kind of where you were getting
would've
at.
been
so-
We can,
yeah.
we can check with Brianna and see what her feedback is on that.
Okay. I have a scheduled call with her later today. I'll ask her.
Okay,
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 if you could do that, that'd be
Sure.
great.
yeah. Okay.
That'd be, again, you have to then we get into who's paying for the mat,
Mhm.
so on and so forth, but I think if that's a viable solution, and we may not have to go all the way out to mean high water if we just get across the major portion.
Yeah, I'm just
In my
thinking
experience-
specific tight areas.
In my experience, just doing with the beach accesses, once you get past that dune feature, that's kind of like a hard stop. You're kind of getting to that dune feature, and then that's, it's more all natural past that point, has been my experience with FWC authorization for
Okay.
those Moby mats.
Great.
So, did you want to, anybody else on this vein of
No.
discussion? So this was kind of like more of a all-inclusive beach management, so I took the opportunity to get the plantings and talk about plantings as well. I'll just preface this by, these are discussion points. Nobody get too excited as to, this is definitely happening, this is the way it's gonna be, but I had requested our coastal engineer to get some schematics, just to be able to visualize, which you'll see up on the TV screens here. Visualize, what 100 feet, what you're looking at is 100 feet wide by 10 feet deep. That's our, in accordance with our dune management plan. This one that we're looking at right now happens to be the first scheme, which is really heavy on the sea oat side. You can see 70% sea oats, 15% dune flower, 10% panic grass, and 5% railroad vine. This is what's going to be happening at Bowditch. That's what the county wanted, Bowditch and Crescent Park, and Lynn Hall Park. So, again, heavy on sea oats, and some additional species for diversity. Where am I pointing, Jason? There we go. So this is the low dune. This has been the consensus of the community, the planting scheme that they would like. So again, it's a little bit more, kind of spreads the species diversity a little bit wider with regards to, more dune sunflower, more dune panic grass, and less sea oats, a little bit more railroad vine. And we also added mature sea oat plantings, so the 1 gallon variety, to give some, it just helps with survivability and kind of giving that dune a little bit more of a jump start interspersed into there. Let's see. And don't take this as to scale. I mean, we still want to maintain a 10-foot wide opening for people to be able to kind of, whether it's a tractor or just foot traffic coming in through there. But there's a, taking away from the sea oats on the backside and kind of adding a bit of a comma, if you will, It helps, you know, whenever this happens, it kind of helps, you know, build a dune, so you kind of have more of a solid wall, and also for privacy, you know, whenever you're looking at it from afar, it doesn't seem like there's an opening, so property owners tend to like that, as to not have an opening that's inviting for, you know, the public just to come onto their property. It kind of gives more of a solid or continuous dune vegetation appearance.
Once these are planted, will they start enforcing the 10-foot rule with raking and certain things like that again?
So our dune management plan, it's down to 2 feet, and it is, you know, the intention of the dune management plan is to allow the property owners to maintain that dune in place.
Okay.
So that's in the dune management plan stamped by the state, and that will be if people have not signed their easement, there is, you know, I have talked to beach rakers that if they haven't signed their easement, they don't have the benefits of the dune management plan. So if they do want to sign their easements, get vegetation, and enjoy the benefits of the dune management plan, that's what needs to happen.
Thank you.
Chad, if they didn't sign their easement, what is the setback from the CO? Is it 10 feet?
10 feet, that's state statute, yes,
Yeah,
sir,
that's what-
as well as town code.
Thank you.
And then, so this one is a little bit more fun. I asked the engineers to give me something that's a little bit more species diverse. Just listening to our professor from FGCU, getting more diverse. You know, you have the native inkberry in there, which is a kind of a woody shrub. Sea purslane, which is a succulent. You'll see it growing more in wetter areas, so something like near the lagoon, for instance, it would do well there, as well as in low-lying areas. And then beach elder is another one that was recommended as a species for adding diversity to the dune. So, you know, it's marked on their south end. This is something we were toying with for the 7,000 block. Having said that, you know, we did meet with the 7,000 block, and I think, you know, at least for a phase one, just to get things rolled out and going, just staying with the consensus that I was hearing from the folks. I never know where to point this at. If we're going backwards, Jason, back to the first. Yeah, that's good. Thank you. I think this would be, you know, something to roll out, just to have, you know, whenever we're talking about miles and miles of planting, and my message to the 7,000 block whenever we met was, you know, we're having a contractor come in. What I would like as a project manager is just to have, you know, something that's uniform, and, you know, at least as a phase one. Also, you know, these guys signed on to, you know, a dune management plan and an easement with a certain, you know, we sold them that bill of goods. And I don't, you know, getting into, you know, switching things up kind of right as we're about to do it, I don't feel good about that, and don't, you know, it kind of goes against my headache policy. So, you know, my vote, for whatever that's worth, would be just to roll out this low dune feature across the board. And if there are, you know, the exceptions, you know, if there's an exception, let them come to me and we can deal with that. But I want to steer away from too much customization. Again, as you can imagine, we're talking about miles of planting. You get into, you know, to manage the, you know, over here this, over here that. It's a daunting task with everything that we have going on. And then, you know, as a phase two, you know, we can, you know, build into the budget, you know, ask council, hey, can we put some money towards some community diversity? You know, ask property owners who wants to sign up, and kind of, you know, have an approach it that way, for whatever that's worth. So, feedback.
So this is, per 100 foot, this is an estimate, or is this what you're gonna really do? You're gonna have a 10-foot wide
It's-
diagonal?
It's a schematic. And then, Jason, I don't know if you can come up with the PDF that has the site plan view. It's a schematic, so it's a typical, this is what would typically be done. And then what we did on the site plan was we looked at historical paths. And then so for our site plan, where we're putting those 10-foot wide gaps would be where
can't
we,
hear.
where we had paths before. So that would kind of be, you know, how do you roll out this thing in such a large scale? You kind of, you know, we got to get plans to these contractors, and that was the easiest way, rather than me going back to all these different property owners and asking where they have a path. Use the historical paths. If there's, you know, we can, if we need to adjust it in the field as we're rolling out, that's something we can do. But again, the more we customize, the more difficult the project is. So trying to roll out that way.
But as an example, you had a 10-foot path and a 100-foot. So if you have a 300-foot wide property, can you have 3 10-foot paths, or
Yes.
can we put them all together for a 30-foot path?
Yes, so, I mean, the dune management plan only requires 75% of the vegetation. I would encourage getting as close to 100% as possible, but if they're, you know, to your point, for every 100 feet, you get 25 feet. So if that's the will of the property owner, then we will absolutely respect that. But I would encourage them, you know, allow, you know, every property is different wants, different needs. And we're gonna, you know, work with those property owners to address that. But just from an environmental resiliency standpoint, we want to vegetate as much as possible.
This is the dune up by the water as opposed to the berm back by the buildings.
No, this would be, Jason, where do I point this? Back there? Theoretically?
There it went.
So it would, this is for the berm, or, you know, yes, this is for the berm, absolutely. So I know the 7,000 block, we're talking about, you know, a vegetative blind, which we've also talked to FWC as a form of mitigation. You know, we're paying for all these plants. Let that be our mitigation contribution as a vegetative blind, to give those shorebirds some sense of safety from human activities behind the dune.
Do COs have the deepest roots? Does anybody know which one has the deepest roots of the species that we're working with?
Yeah, I would say coats are most known for stabilizing the dune. Bitter panicum as well.
I'm just thinking, like,
Railroad vine has its kind of a different, you know, it kind of vines out and
Right.
has a different kind of stabilizing strategy or stabilizing effect for the dune.
because I'm just wondering, in those, you know, the environmental areas where birds are, you know, the big conversation, and that is strategic planning in those, in site-specific areas. How hard would that be for the teams planting to do like a specific planting of, you know, areas where the birds have a protected area, where if there's a walkway, putting the sea oats like just along the walkway to make little natural barriers that are like little holes inside the dunes and the berms where these birds are safe and protected and hidden. I know not all the birds like that.
Yeah, I think the solitary nesters will find that on their own.
Yeah, okay.
And you'll have that kind of naturally. You see that out in the CWA. Again, I'm being very clear that I'm steering away from customization.
Okay, that's where I was getting at. I knew you said that, and I just,
You know, if, you know,
For those
think of this as a
specific areas.
phase one. This is like the first stroke. You know, if we want to add on, again, species diversity, different planting schemes for wildlife, habitat, et cetera, definitely open to that. But I think that's more of a phase 2 or 3.
right now we just want to get it out there.
We want to get it
Yeah.
out there and
Okay,
roll it
good
out.
call.
Okay, yeah.
So to your point, Mr. Bill, so that's your spot, Shamron and Eden House. Yeah, of course, that lagoon feature really is no longer there.
Chad, what's the percentage of owners that sign the easement across the board?
Depends on where you're at. So on the north side, I think we had nearly 100%. There were a couple holdouts. On the south side, south of Wyndham. It was also, near 100%. There are, a few holdouts. In the central section where you have the single-family homes, I had the greatest percent. I forget it, but it was a challenge getting those easements.
I can imagine.
Um,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Now, again, this is just a rough draft, roughly.
I would call it the second version. So we can add an additional version, and if I'm taking it that you want to redraft. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, no, I'm just looking at your green stripe, which is your dune planting scheme, right?
Right.
And then you have just a smidge for your beach access.
Right.
So it looks like that's only representing 10 feet wide when
Correct.
it should probably be 30 feet wide.
Again, if that's what so this is going to be the rule. There can be exceptions if you want a 30-foot wide opening, but that would be the exception rather than the rule. We intend to plant as much as we can plant. That's my advice as staff, environmentally and for resiliency.
Up to 75 feet, right, or 75%.
If the property owner wants 30-foot gaps per 100 feet, they can get that. They
No,
can.
no, not per, that would be 10 feet per hundred. If you have a 300-foot wide property, you're entitled to 30 feet of opening.
If you have a 300-foot wide property, you're entitled to 75% unvegetated. 75 feet.
Vegetated,
Sorry, 75 feet unvegetated.
okay.
So by the dune management plan, we will respect that, and if property owners want 25% unvegetated, absolutely. But as a project, and my intention for resiliency and for environmental is to have those 10-foot wide openings. So if property owners would like a wider opening for whatever reason, absolutely, we will respect that.
We could have 3.
You can have 3, yeah.
All right. Is there any set angle you put these on? I see that they're all drawn diagonal.
Yeah, the intention is to kind of have that comma, and I think,
Oh, that's what you're calling them.
the comma dune, yeah.
Okay, gotcha. All right. That makes sense.
That's gonna be, something that we'll probably add in the third version.
Good, thank you.
Okay. Do you have more slides, Chad?
It just marches down, and I'll put this on the website so the public can see it, and they can email me their feedback, and let's get the feedback done as soon as possible so we can get this bid out. If there's any concerns, I'm welcome to hearing them. Do you want feedback
No,
right now?
I guess my question to you is, in our role as an advisory committee to the town, is there something you wish us to approach the council with a recommendation, not a recommendation?
I mean, if you want to make a motion to the council to follow whatever Chad says, I would definitely support that.
You mean we don't do that already?
Yeah, I think we're already there, but Okay, thank you very much. And
Yeah.
I encourage everyone to go on the website and take a look at it. And again, as Chad said, every property on this island is almost unique. And the contours change all the way around the island. And so every property owner can take a look and make their decision and go from there.
Mr. Chair, if I could just ask, do you have a timeline in mind, or?
As soon as possible. We want to, so I don't know if anybody watched the last council meeting where our coastal engineer, Michael Poff,
No,
was there
I was sleeping.
advising the council. So what's gonna happen is we have this beach project. It's got, 25,000 whatever feet of pipe that some of it's buried, some of it's not. It's stretched out on this beach. Whenever they demobilize, they're taking that pipe off, and then they're going to grade again. So there's no use in planting before that happens, because it's gonna be a messy process. So, I would like to get this done before sea turtle season. So that's the intention. We need to get this bid out as soon as possible so we can get our plants grown. It's a lot of plants, as you can imagine. We got a 7-mile island, and not all of it's necessarily going to be planted, but a lot of it is. So we wanna get rolling.
For
Okay.
property owners, it's just as simple as the wider the opening, the more openings, the more water will get through. So just keep that in mind when you're making your decisions.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Moving down to item C, window visual transmittance. And I asked Chad to put this on here because we had some information that came in, from the, fenestration people, which is the window people, and they've been doing sea turtle testing. Counselor King has been gracious enough to be in contact with him, and they sent him a letter in January, I believe,
She sent a letter in December.
in December,
An email.
an email, and if I asked him if he could just kind of paraphrase what it was said in there so that we could be up to date on what was happening.
Oh, you want me to do that?
Well, okay. What, or I can if you want, but
It's up to you, Chair.
basically, they've been doing testing with baby sea turtles. And they've been using different tints of glass to determine basically what the optimum tint should be. As we all know, the state mandates a 45 tint. There are people that say it's not effective, and if you look at what the test results are coming back from the fenestration people, it appears that it's not as effective as they hope. And testing with the different turtles, the leathernecks and the loggerheads, and they're doing babies hatching out with different shades and different tints, and preliminarily, it appears that a 0.3 tint is, and anything darker than that, is effective in reducing the disorientation of the turtles, not only at nesting and at hatching. So if that's the optimum level that we can go for, we're waiting to find out what the results are. And if that's the case, I think we can consider it as a committee and make a recommendation to the town, and I think it would be a tremendous, in my personal opinion, and you guys can comment on this, if 0.3 is the number that works, rather than beating people on the head and saying, this is the number you have to go with, you can come out and say, and offer an incentive and say, look, if anything at 0.3 or darker discourages or eliminates disorientation, and we have to see what the results are, perhaps we can go through and reduce the ruling behind the council's thing. I know for a fact that if you put a new window in, Chad has to run around and look at the curtains on the window to clear the window from the permit. Thousands of windows have gone in, and I'm pretty sure Chad's about 1,000 windows behind in trying to go through and look at all of the curtains. But this is an area where we could clear up a little bit of the government, issue of doing something, passing a law that is difficult to maintain, and if we can find a number that works, let's tell people, look, if you put a number in, and this is your window number, whether your curtains are open or closed, it doesn't matter, because the turtles can't see it anyway, according to scientific data. So, what an incentive for everybody in the town to do something like that. Now, we don't know what the answers are. I talked to Chad before this, and he said he wanted to see the peer-reviewed papers first, and we have to wait for the scientific evidence. But preliminarily, and this is in quotes, preliminarily, it looks at, if this is a number, if we can find a number, what a great boon to everybody on the beach if we can, number one, not make Chad and his people police officers running around checking window lights with light meters, Or number two, having people worried about whether they have to have an electronic closure on their window if they go to the right window tint. What an incentive. So I brought that up just to kind of explain it, and hopefully within the next couple of months, we can get some additional information on it. But that's kind of my personal thought on it, having been involved in this for a number of years. But I welcome anybody on the committee to put their thoughts in.
So are you suggesting FMB will have a different visual transmittance than the rest of the state?
Well, we did before,
Yes,
so,
but that was struck back.
yes, but,
Because what we had down here was just impossible
well, what
and uncalled for.
what we can say is, what the town could pass is, here's the state mandate. But you have to have curtains on this. If you put this in, you don't need curtains. It works. So,
Understood.
do you wanna go through that, or do you wanna go through that? Now, again, this is all preliminary, and I'm kind of just reading into what the last 2 or 3 emails from the fenestration industry has written to Councilor King, but I've been following this very closely, and I think it's a workable solution. It takes a lot of pressure off Chad and the compliance people in town. I think it provides an incentive for the people on the beach, and it protects the turtles, so it becomes a win-win-win.
Why don't we just go to 15% and call it a day?
Well, because
15%,
Because 15% is an onerous
but,
tip.
but what I'm saying is 15% would then alleviate any issues.
What in this email, it talks about is, both the 45 VT and the 15 VT have no data backing why those percentages were even chosen. So, we knew that with the 15, because originally FWC had contracted with auto glass manufacturers to test. So, and to find out now that 45, there's nothing there either. That means to me, in my mind anyway, that the state would probably be changing once they understand where the optimal point is. So that could be brought down to 30.
That's kind of the point I was going to make about what you're saying. Like it does. Like there's aspects of that that really do sound good and all, like win-win-win. What I worry about is it's just the one scientific study doing it, and until more data is done, until other establishments start doing it, I feel like it's going to keep changing.
Well,
That's what I'm worried about.
And again, this is the first actual real scientific study that's been done, because before it's been someone plucking a number out of the air.
Yeah. Oh no,
Be it
I'm not
45
disagreeing
or
with this
15.
specific study. I'm just saying the way that science and that community works is that they're going to find their evidence here, and it may be very well true and factual, but until it's peer reviewed and other experiments are done,
Exactly.
It's just gonna
I'm
take
just
time.
saying, this is an option that we can look at as a committee.
be like a forerunner on it. Kind of.
Somebody said it's better to strike a straight blow with a crooked stick
Yeah.
than to spend the rest of your life straightening the stick up.
Well, and at the end,
So it's,
at the end of the day, any little bit that you're doing to help the turtles, the birds, anything helps.
That's
Every
correct.
little bit. So if you have curtains, even if you have the tint, and when you're going to bed, why do you need the curtains open kind of mentality? Close, and it's just those little changes are going to make the big differences that are easier for Chad and the turtles and everybody. But it's getting into that mentality of every little bit helps. So then when these changes are mandated down the road by the city, the state, whoever, it's going to be an easier pill to swallow.
well, and again, as I said, let's find out what the science says before we do anything, because that's gonna be the key thing.
But no, it's good to bring it to our attention too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions on that before we move on?
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yes,
So I appreciate everybody wanting to make my job easier. Keep that up
Just for you, Chad.
wherever you can. So I will say science is all about probabilities. And there's nothing absolute. Even whenever you're testing something, it's a probability of having an effect, and you never know what's going to happen. The other thing about these visual transmittants is it's a percentage. And what I tell everyone is, even, 5% of the sun is really bright, right? So if you have lights that are really bright by that window, there can still be an issue. So, there's no catch-all. It's all probabilities. And so the finding, my understanding of the finding is that 30% visual transmittance is where there was a significant effect on disorientation rates. And there's a reason why I say it like that, because that is, that's my understanding of how they tested, these different visual transmittance rates. So that's not to say that, 30 is at zero effect. It just has a significant effect, right? And, with all the windows that I've looked at over the last 5 years, the ones that I can say don't have an effect is whenever you have blackout curtains. So I will leave it at that.
Well, so is a blank wall too,
Yes, correct,
with no window,
correct.
so. Okay. Any other questions? Any other comments? Okay, moving on. Staff update, Chad, you kinda had the whole floor, but.
Members
this
items.
is-
Members items?
Oh, yep, members items, I'm sorry.
Took off your glasses too
Let's-
soon.
I'm good.
All
Ralph,
good here?
Sharon,
Okay.
Jennifer.
Yes. Hold on. Okay, so, I don't know if you all know, but I'm on the Anchorage Committee, and we are gonna be doing the, cruiser appreciation. I'm not sure if any of you have, been to one of those. It's a lot of fun. And it's, gonna be set for April 27th. At Bayside Park, and I would like to have a MERTF booth. They're gonna have some informational booths there, and I was hoping to have the MERTF booth if anyone is interested, or if I can get approval on that.
I don't see any reason why not.
So you'll be there?
I don't know, I don't have my schedule.
I just need help with it.
What's the
so.
date?
The 27th.
It's a Sunday.
April 27th.
I could probably be there with you.
Okay.
Sure, I can be there too.
Okay, wonderful. Because I probably will have to help with the Anchorage
Sure.
committee as well, so someone from MERTF has to actually be there to man it at all times. so.
Sure.
Along with other organizations, we'll probably have the, perhaps Stego Bay, the Coast Guard Auxiliary, the Chamber.
The committee's also picking up lunch, isn't it?
Yes,
For
sir.
the-
So anyone who actually comes, your schedule opens up.
I was gonna make the joke about Dave.
They already approved Chad's lunch, so.
Oh,
Maybe Chad, you could maybe make an appearance to be
Yes, I
a
mean-
resource of information to the community.
Yes, I'll get those dates and times for it from you.
Thank you. And that's
Do
all
my
for me.
best.
Oh, so, in the last Hurricane Milton, I lost, the tent. I've got a neighbor that will allow me to use the tent, and then the tables are getting rusty. I know that we have a $500,
Budget?
budget, thank you. And, so I would need approval to replace the tent and replace the tables.
I can donate a table, I have a table.
Oh, you
I'll
do?
donate. It's just one though, so you still have.
Okay,
Is it folding?
Yes.
Okay.
is the $500 within, budget
Oh,
within the
yeah.
tent?
Yeah, the tent would be probably $60, $70, and then I was just looking it up, and then the tables are like $50 to $60, so. And then I would also need table coverings as well.
Okay.
Does a town still have their tent? Do we know if no, never mind.
I'm assuming so, I don't know. I know we had it before Helene and Milton, but
Yeah.
Well, I can make a motion that Jennifer spend up to $250 to get a tent and tables
Okay.
to replace the Murph booth.
I'll second it.
That gonna be enough? Or up to 500?
Yeah, let's just
We'll
make
blow the
it,
whole thing. Let's-
I'm not gonna
I'll
blow the
revise
whole
my
thing, but
motion.
I don't want it to be under and then I have to choose
Yeah,
something
well,
that's not as,
We'll revise the motion, I'll revise my motion
well, you have to,
to $500, up to $500 to replace the Murph booth and the tables.
All right,
and
good.
coverings.
All right, I'll second that.
thank you.
Okay, motion's on the table and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, get a new tent and table.
Yes, sir.
Good.
Anything else?
I might need some stickers and some things like that, so that's,
We'll
but,
work on that.
okay.
Just a real quick question, where are you on the, funds from the coloring book? Are they all done?
No, I think we have maybe 1,000, maybe 2,000 more, but, someone in the community, had offered to, donate and possibly print 20,000 more.
Okay,
So, but that'll be in the future, so.
okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, my only update, other than, I wanted to talk about the herbicide spraying, and Chad answered that. I've been in contact with Chris Close, who's the chair of the Anchorage Advisory, meeting.
Chris who?
uh, Excuse me, Mr. King, Chris King. Chris King, who is the chair of the Anchorage Advisory Committee. And she and I have been exchanging emails, and they are putting together in February a Captains for Clean Water, and would like to have a joint meeting with the Murph Committee. It would not be an official meeting for us,
And the Hatch
and
Waterkeeper.
it includes a water keeper. And I said I would bring it up from a standpoint that, given the lateness of our meeting and the fact that we have a lot to do in March, but we can't get Dr. Daly and his people in because we're in the last week of the month here, and then scheduled in 2 weeks to do it again, that in lieu of having our regular February meeting, that we have a joint get-together with the Anchorage Advisory Committee, acting as our meeting in February, and show up. And their dates are either February 21, 28, or March 7th or 14th. And again, since we're having our meeting today, I was thinking if we could plan on a February 21 meeting or a February 28, that would give us a February meeting without having a meeting, but going through. And I just wanted to kick that out and see if anyone had any thoughts on it.
Oh, I believe it should be separate from normal,
Yes,
Oh.
it has to be.
yes.
That's what I'm saying. It would be in lieu of a February meeting, because we normally meet in 2 weeks, and we're just meeting now, so this would be in lieu of a February meeting. In March, we have Dr. Daly, hopefully he can come in and make his presentation. And so
Are these dates available for
they're
this
available,
room?
they're, well, I haven't checked with Amy yet, but Chris, I'm sure has. But it's February 21 or February 28th or March 7th or March 14th. And if anyone has an idea of where they think their schedule is, we could pick one now and I could send it to Chris.
I'm gonna be more inclined for the 14th of March, so.
Okay, well then we have to have a meeting and then a meeting. And, if we wanna have, cause we can't have a meeting in a workshop, so we'd either have to go to the workshop and then have a meeting, cause that is somewhere around our meeting date.
Okay, I forgo the February meeting, and I would, say either the 21st or 28th, I'm fine with.
I'm good with any one of those. It's all Fridays anyway.
Yeah,
I work Fridays, so I have to get approval,
Okay.
depending on the time of when.
Well, it isn't a mandatory meeting,
I
it's,
understand,
Yeah.
that's just my situation.
yep,
And I can't do it on the 28th of February,
okay.
but otherwise I'm okay.
How about the 21st?
First is good, yeah.
and I'm trying to think, and that's, the Anchorage Committee is available then too?
Yes, I'm looking at my notes from
Oh.
Chris.
Hmm.
So, okay,
Okay,
I will set it up and
21st.
make sure that it's okay with the Anchorage Committee through, Chris King. And I'll get back and have Chad get in touch with everyone through our proper channels.
What time would it be?
I don't, to be determined.
Okay,
We'll try and,
and it will be broadcasted though?
Yes, and
Okay,
it has to be
Perfect.
made public.
okay.
yeah, okay.
All right, and that's really all I had on my, now I have staff update.
You forgot Leo.
Yeah.
Poor
Yeah.
I'm good.
Oh,
I'm good.
I did ask Leo.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, Leo, did you, no, I thought Leo said, no, sorry,
I'm good.
he's good. I'm just trying to, Amy was very, very sharp.
I understand about the 12:30.
Yeah,
All right, so the marine debris project, we've collected 435 cubic yards of debris out of the waterways to date. Contractor's done a great job getting really good reviews. Hopefully with these low tides that we have right now, they can continue to get some debris. They are, I believe, working with, not sure if it's FWC or LCSO with a car that they found. So that's been a good project, and they're doing a great job working with our harbor master and marine operators, Kurt and Bobby and their team. So everything's going really well with regards to that project. The beach nourishment project has it's been a challenge with these storms, getting knocked back a bit and put us off schedule. They, with the booster pumps going down, they started pumping again just south of Diamond Head. Those stretches of beach go relatively quickly because they're only adding a foot or two of elevation. That beach is already relatively wide due to the Army Corps dredge projects that we've had in years past. Those nearshore placements wash in, and that's why we have a wide beach down there. So they're just adding a foot or two of elevation and moving. It's you know, the quantity of sand per shoreline foot is relatively low there. Having said that, I was told they've gotten the parts for their booster, and as soon as that is situated, they will be pumping again down south, Mr. Sam. And Mr. Sam, I think, has been calling me. We're regular phone partners lately, getting the updates. So they're going to be pumping down there, and I was told at the meeting this morning they'll be done by March 1st down south. So we will see. We are working with FWC and have, as a contingency, applied for a incidental take permit for shorebird season. It is, you know, non-injurious deterrence, just to keep the birds out of the project area. Having said that, you know, FWC's advice and was that that might not even be needed, just because that area is low lying and has changed so much down there. You know, from their perspective as bird biologists, they didn't foresee nesting down there, but you never know. Mother Nature does what Mother Nature does, and you know, snowy plover nest could pop up anywhere any day now. So you're going to have regular bird monitors to satisfy our permit conditions, and even going above and beyond that. The contractor is going to have their bird monitor, and then our engineer also has bird monitors on staff that will be doing daily routes to monitor the nesting. So, yep, going to be pumping down south soon. A lot of sand coming y'all's way. We'll all feel a lot better once that happens.
Okay. Any questions for Chad? Thank you, Chad.
You're welcome.
Okay. We are now at the public comment. We still have a group of people. Does anyone wish to have any public comment?
Do I have a total of 3 minutes or 3 minutes from before? I'm trying to-
You get a total of 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. So Chad, timelines are difficult, I know, but is there a go time and no-go when you can be actually putting the seedlings in the ground in front of the 7,000 block? Is there turtle time restrictions or herd restrictions timeline?
On the 7,000 block there, it may be a little bit different with turtles being behind the lagoon there. I mean, some of the 7,000 block does not have lagoon or vegetation in front of it anymore. Some of it does. I believe our permit says that we can do it during the sea turtle season as long as we're not using heavy equipment on the beach. But again, as soon as possible, I'm going to get these plans revised. I'll send it out to y'all if y'all can give me your thumbs up, and we'll get it posted on the website and see if there's any feedback, and get the plans out to bid.
The inner path there obviously is a traffic line for the beach and nourishment, so we'll have to wait for them to be finished, which is March 1st or so.
Correct.
It's sometime in March, we'll say. So are we talking before hurricane season, June, July, to get these things in the ground?
Again, yeah, hopefully before sea turtle season. If we can get the bid out sooner than later, my hope is to do it before sea turtle season.
So our 10-foot or so plantings will be right on our seawall closest to our property line. The inner path is maybe 30, 40 feet wide there. If we wanted to add some trees, some sea grapes, something that could create shade down a few years down the road, would that be going through you, or we'd have to have our own contractors implement those? And what types, obviously native plants only, but.
Yeah, either or, but I'd be happy to work with y'all and see if we can find some funding. I know the funding is, I've had these conversations in the past where the urban forestry grants that I've been able to get for trees, I've gotten, a couple of grants where they'll give us $500 a tree, which is great, but it's only on public lands, and so that might be the challenge for getting that grant funding for the private, but you never know what kind of grant opportunities may arise.
I think we'd like to see even some private, even internally within our own association, to put some groupings out there. Could shade, the mangrove's gonna be gone, used to be, wind blocks out there, and many spots to enjoy the beach.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, we'll keep in touch. Getting a hold of your relatively new board, on the town's, website, I can't send you a direct email. Would you wanna put your emails online, where we can reach out to you individually with questions or suggestions, or just keep going through Chad or John?
I'm not sure what the protocol is on that.
You can send it,
Yeah.
also send it to Amy. She can forward it then,
Amy is, okay, very
the
good.
town clerk.
Thank you again for your
Yep.
time.
Thank you.
Okay, just kind of a point of order, and this is a good area where Chad can answer some questions, but on public comment, if you have questions, please come up, list your questions, and then Chad can answer them in order, because we're not supposed to have a back and forth on public comment.
Sorry about that, Chair.
Understood, thank you.
Yep. Okay, anyone else have a public comment? I'm just trying to follow the rules, okay?
I'll put my hard hat on.
Yeah, you can put your hard hat back on. All right. Okay, with that, I will close public comment.
Do you have a question?
Yes, I have a comment. I'm being told by a new board member that we have no public beach any longer. We were under the impression it was the high water line up to our building, was okay, but from there on, it was public beach out to the water. Is that correct?
So my understanding of the 8,000 block, there is no erosion control line there, so you own all the way out to the mean high water.
So, okay, really. That being said, when we provide, which I totally appreciate the fact that Castle Beach has always, for 32 years, allowed Laguna Shores to come out along our own property and go out to the beach because we considered it a public beach. But can they still do that?
Yeah, so the whole thing of public beach and private beach, I don't want to,
Yeah.
it's, you know, it's customary use and there's all kinds of legal definitions that I'm not even going to try and get into. There is an easement on your west side of your building or north side of your building, whatever you want to call it. And the way that easement is written is it gives access along the seawall, and that's because back in the day the waves were lapping up to your seawall. So,
Exactly.
you know, I don't know if that easement necessarily goes away, you know, just because it's sand there and not waves. That easement still says that they have access to, you know, to skirt along your seawall. So I don't have any answers for you per se with regards to that. I know there is an easement there.
Yes, there is, and I also have been told that easement is over since Hurricane Irma. Now,
Yeah.
we know that in 2001, when Tropical Storm brought in all that sand, we didn't need an easement anymore. We had no seawall, it's all covered.
Right.
But, I mean, this new board member is very adamant on all this stuff. And I just need to know.
Yeah, I would advise you consult your
Consult
legal.
your attorney on that.
Yeah.
Okay, very fine, I will.
Chad, last time I looked, you didn't have town attorney on your card either.
No, sir. But there is an easement there, and that's my understanding.
So,
Okay,
okay.
I shall, thank you.
All right. Any other questions before we move on? Murph Award. Does anyone have any nominations for the Murph Award this month?
I would continue to put in Christine King's name, because she's the one that's done all this cleanup for every day, every single day she's there. So that would be my advice.
Jennifer?
No.
How many
I-
do we have in the bank?
I don't know. I didn't get the notes from there.
Okay.
I think we got one.
Ah, hey.
Oh, you had one in the bank. Yes, you did.
The boat, the sightseeing tour boat, the dolphin cruise boat. Yeah, I have a picture and I have,
Could you
A
go through and
story.
explain that again? Just
yes. So I had some family in town and, we decided to go on a sightseeing dolphin watching tour, out of, Parakeet. And on the way back, or anything we saw lots of dolphins and lots of sea life and birds, but they were very good at educating all the people on the boat. They stayed back from the dolphins, they didn't go right up to them. They educate all the tourists and on just being, going slow in that area and protecting manatees. And so I thought it was a really good thing to do when they don't necessarily have to. But when I asked them, you know, and told them I appreciated it, they said, well, that is, you know, part of their career and their business is to educate people on boating and slow speeds and caring for our water and our wildlife back there. So I really appreciated that.
Okay. So it's really basically part of their professional duties.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, not all
But
tour
they're
companies.
not told to do that,
Yeah,
right?
not all tour companies abide by the,
No.
not only the speed laws, but the animal interaction
No.
laws, rules and laws. So having one that
One-
does is rare.
Yeah, it's good. It's a really good thing for our community.
Well, would we want to give it to the company itself, or what's,
Well, I believe the captains are the owners, I believe, of the tour
do
company.
you know the company itself?
It's on the picture I have, and it shows it.
Sightseeing.
Sightseeing.
Okay.
Sightseeing something. It's a yellow boat. I believe they also helped after Ian to pick up with Lee County, keep Lee County clean. So I appreciate that they're very involved in helping the community.
Well, I think it would do a little more to, if we had the company itself rather than the individual person.
Sightseer
It's
cruises.
sightseer.
It's sightseer
cruises.
cruises?
Mhm.
SEA-R cruises.
Okay, so we have two on the board, anyone else? Okay, I'll take a nomination for the MERF committee.
Who wants to write this time? Which one of you two wants to write this time?
You can if you want. Have you done that before? Do you have a picture?
No.
You gotta just catch her in the act doing it.
Oh, okay.
Find out when she's gonna be out on the beach and get
Okay.
a picture and.
Okay, I can do that.
Okay,
I can
Alright.
do that, for sure.
I nominate Mrs. King.
Okay, I'll take care of that, thank you.
okay, and is there a second? Second for Bill, okay. Chris King, and seconded, by Rob Howell, and seconded by Bill Altoff. Any others nominating? Okay. I'll close nominations. All those in favor of Chris King, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Technically, I didn't vote, but I'm in favor of Chris King too.
Yeah,
Yes,
well,
you are.
Somebody's getting steak to it.
okay.
Prime rib, actually.
So, next meeting that we've decided is gonna be in March. One of the things that
February?
Wait,
March or February?
February, I thought we decided we were gonna do the February
Right,
in lieu of the meeting.
right.
So March, we have,
the 12th.
Dr. Savarese and Dr. Daly coming in if they can make it. And hopefully they can, to give an update on the, simulations for the beach, resiliency, which I'm looking forward to seeing. And anything else that anyone would like to put on the agenda?
I would like, I think, didn't you request that maybe we have Turtle Time come and do a
Yes.
presentation?
Yes.
Do you wanna do the March or probably in maybe April? You don't probably wanna do it all, two presentations in one day, that would be
No, if we can do it in April, I think that would,
April?
you know, cause that's getting very close to turtle season.
Right, it is turtle season,
It's May 1st,
I start early.
yeah,
Turtle time.
Turtle
Turtle
time.
time starts in April, the
Yeah.
official season starts, yeah.
and May 1. So, I think that would be a good precursor for the start of turtle season in April.
What about the spotlight?
Who's up for the spotlight? Very good, thank you.
Oh, welcome.
Who wrote the last spotlight? I think I did. So, we wanna start, I can't remember, Bill, you had yours in front of mine, I believe, and you were there.
Can I do, April? Do you mind if I recommend?
Sure.
During April or May? Unless someone else wants that month. Just I was gonna do it on the sea turtle season.
Okay, that'd be good. So, beach spotlight. Leo, you're the new guy.
I don't know enough about it yet.
We generally write an article about spotlighting something that you're concerned about on the beach. One other, you know, you can write about anything, what the beach means, you know, wildlife,
something environmental or
something
marine.
environmental or something that is that you think would be of interest to the residents of Fort Myers Beach
And visitors.
and visitors. And when you get it done, you can send it to Chad, who will send it to me, because you can't send it to me, I don't believe legally.
And
And then we can send it out, and I did talk to Chad when I sent my last one out, and we should be running everything through the town's public information officer. So that will go to
before it
the,
goes to the paper, or?
well, the PIO will distribute it to all of the news agencies.
I got you. Well, also, that, the Murphy came across, on one of the alerts that you guys, that Murphy was an annual alarm.
I know, I had him I tried to get him to fix that,
Okay,
you know, that was whatever.
yeah.
And I will try and get that corrected this time through. Otherwise, Mrs. King won't be happy if I screw her announcement up.
I had a Murphy that was prior to the changeover in, with the last committee members that are no longer on here. And I had a Murphy that was approved, and, I sent it a couple times to Chad, I don't know, or to the town to get to you. Did you ever receive it?
No,
Okay, so something went wiry on my end, I guess, but, someone from the paper reached out to me, and I sent it, so.
okay, all right, okay.
Just a point of order, you're talking still March 12th for the MRF meeting?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
all right, anything else? I think the resiliency, if we get Dr. Severisi and Dr. Daly in here, will take up a goodly portion of the meeting. So that will be an interesting meeting all the way around. And again, you know, they are very, I look forward to their input as far as resiliency and their recommendations throughout the island.
Yes.
So with that, I will accept a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion's made and seconded to adjourn. Thank you very much. We'll see you, in March.
Yes.
And I believe the February meeting will be open to the public.
Yes.
Yes. So
And then, since it's our
we'll send out information on that through the PIO.
Is there a meeting